Mayor Kely?
Here.
Mr. Montempo?
Here.
Mr. Hines?
Present.
Mr. Nicholas?
Here.
Dr. Pascucci?
Here.
Mayor, you have a form.
Thank you very much, Wendy.
You're welcome.
Item 6, consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Move. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Montempo?
Yes.
Mr. Hines?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mayor Kely?
Yes. Item 7, introduction of ordinances. Wendy?
Ordinance 2018-17, an ordinance authorizing the granting of an open space easement on block 47, lot 1.01 on the tax map of Holmdel Township. Motion to adopt on first reading, published in the Asbury Park Press, and set public hearing for Tuesday, October 9th, 2018.
Thank you. Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Montempo?
Yes.
Mr. Hines? Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mayor Kely?
Yes. Item 8, we don't have a hearing on any ordinances tonight, so I'm going to move to item 9, recreation presentation by Mazer Consulting. Gentlemen? Many of you in the audience are aware that this committee recommended Mazer Consulting to do a review of our parks and recreation fields. And this is the first report that we're getting from Mazer tonight. So I've asked them to come here and present it to the public. Ken, take it away.
We did bring some rendering.
Yeah, let's put it in the back. Yeah, great.
At least I know off the walk. And our third attendee, Carl O'Brien, is almost here, so if you have technical questions at the end.
Okay, no problem. Just make sure you speak into the mic so everybody can hear you, buddy.
Push the button up.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mayor. Just a quick introduction. My name is Jim Priola, Mazer Consulting, and I have with me Joe Raftery from Mazer, and Carl O'Brien is on his way.
Jim, I can't hear you well enough. I'm sorry.
How's that better? Yeah. Thank you. So we were asked by the township to look at various sites throughout the town to see if those sites could accommodate certain recreation improvements that the township was interested in. We did that. Looked at several sites, and while we were doing that, the one site that appeared to be a good fit to what you guys were trying to accomplish was the Phillips Park site. So the purpose of this presentation is really to run through our concept and how we think what we could do at Phillips Park will fit with your goals for what you're trying to accomplish with your recreational needs. So what I'd like to do is to start with just kind of go through the existing facilities out at Phillips Park. Right now, what you have out there is a 200-foot baseball field with 60-foot base paths, 2 basketball courts, an old playground, parking lot that contains about 44 parking spaces, the Vets Memorial Park, and an existing restroom and storage building. The next slide shows our overall concept for this park, and we'll get into more detail in the following slides, but basically what we're showing is the upper baseball field is the first component that would remain and be converted to a full turf field. In the middle, where you have currently an existing baseball field, we're proposing a multi-purpose turf field, which also includes baseball. The next component would be to relocate the basketball courts. And lastly, we would expand some parking to accommodate these uses by adding an additional 50 parking spots an open grass area and some on the parallel parking on the road. That's Memorial Park portion of this site would remain as is. We would not touch that. So just going to go through the details of each of the components. Start with the turf field.
Good evening. The main component, as Jim was saying, was the repurposing of the existing baseball field for a proposed multi-purpose turf field. This versatile turf field will be 360 feet in length by 210 feet in width, with a run-out area that would be able to house a 210-foot wide soccer field, a fully dimensioned football field, and as Jim mentioned, a Little League baseball / softball field with a 220-foot markout for a proposed home run line. There would be 60-foot base paths, and then the versatility of having a turf field would allow other sports such as field hockey, lacrosse, rugby to be marked out and played on a field of this size. The proposed project would be using Musco LED sports lighting. We would propose a new multi-sport scoreboard, and as you can see around the perimeter of the field, there is a proposed walking path that would allow access throughout the park. Behind me is Carl O'Brien of Baser Consulting.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and rest of Holmdel. How's everybody doing? So what you're seeing right there is a picture of Seton Hall Prep up in West Orange. We were responsible for construction management oversight of that facility. The majority of it is synthetic turf. The football field, soccer, lacrosse, which is the main field where it says Pirates on it, that is a multi-purpose surface field, also with a track around it in your D-zone areas for tracks. Although this project doesn't have it, the one at Seton Hall Prep did. On the far end, if you see, if you go back, at the far end, towards the top of the picture, dead center is a synthetic turf baseball field, and they went with a clay pitcher's mound for that one. They used synthetic surface pitching mounds for the warm-up areas for where the pitchers are on the just outside the foul line areas. And then also on the top right corner, they had enough room to put some little extra turf area. They used it as a just a warm-up area for goalies and shot areas for like a red zone area for football. So they tried to maximize their area as well. So similar to what we're looking to do here is to maximize the space available. Over in Belleville, this was a site where we went with multi-purpose field as well. They went with football, soccer, lacrosse for the 3 sports that they put on it. Also, they had bleachers that were built back in around the 1920s. They were rehabbed, all concrete bleachers. So you know, it's a different type of look for that particular complex. Instead of going with the traditional aluminum bleachers that you see nowadays, we were able to rehab those concrete bleachers and just put them back to better working conditions. This gets into what we're looking for the Holmdel field, where it's a overlay scenario. Sylvester Field in Roselle, New Jersey. The diamond that you see in the top left-hand corner is a field that is used for Little League baseball and softball. The high school practices there as well. It's all flat synthetic turf. The infield, you see, it's not clay, it's actually all brown synthetic turf. So they use that for Little League. It plays into the football and soccer field. The way the site laid out due to wetland conditions, we had to twist the field in a certain way to be able to maximize this. What we were able to do also is to put a quarter-mile walking path, 2-lane walking path going around the entire facility. It's oddly shaped. It's not your traditional oval, but it gets you clocked at a quarter mile, so that works well there.
And this slide represents the upper portion of the existing Phillips Park. We would be turfing the existing field. Again, it would be for Little League or softball with 60-foot base paths. And we would be updating the Musco sports lighting if needed, and we would be putting a new scoreboard.
There's no lighting up there now.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry.
Oakwood Park, which is in New Providence, went with synthetic turf, Little League baseball field as well. They turfed the entire area except for the clay pitcher's mound. I'm seeing a lot lately where the fields are for baseball and Little League, they're going with all synthetic turf. The pitcher's mound area is basically a 50-50 what I'm seeing, where some municipalities and school districts will want to keep a clay pitcher's mound, and others are going with a synthetic turf pitcher's mound where the stride lane for the baseball pitcher is in clay. So that works as well. I think the next slide actually has, yeah. Over in, this field is in Bayonne. They went with all synthetic turf mounds for this one. Everything for the entire site synthetic turf. You can see even if you look to the outside of the fence, there's that brown walking area, that's all synthetic turf too. So they wanted to delineate it, they wanted minimal maintenance there. For all these fields, they have an intense drainage design that is underneath it to storm the flood hazard areas, to alleviate any potential flooding. This particular one is right next to the Arthur Kill. So we had title permitting that we had to design for that one. That would not be the case with your facility. However, as you can see, depending on the situation, that you can apply either synthetic turf or natural grass improvement to both locations. The biggest thing is making sure that the drainage is designed in such a way that it's going to alleviate any potential for flooding. Hilview was a unique one. What we did at Hilview is they didn't have enough funds, and they didn't really want to put all synthetic turf. So they went the infield, all synthetic turf, and the outfield was grass. So what they did, the reason being is at a Little League level, the majority of your gameplay is played on the infield. So they wanted to make sure that that day-to-day surface was not getting worn out as much. The outfield was all natural turf, so you were able to rest it a little bit more. You get your normal wear out spots where the left fielder, center fielder, and right fielder stands, but on a maintenance level, those are your high treatment areas instead of having to treat your entire infield.
And just to go on with the rest of the improvements, we would be doing additional parking improvements to Phillips Park. We have 50 additional parking spaces in our conceptual plan, with 20 of them being parallel parking along the main stretch, as long as a 30-space parking lot up in a relatively flat area. That seems to be a overload parking area currently, so it's based on field reconnaissance. And these are the two repurposed basketball courts that would be lit by LED sports lighting. The dimensions of the courts are 85 by 50, and they would be in the location of the old playground.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions from the committee?
Not right now.
No, we just got it. Looks, presentation was very, very good. Thank you. I'm sure we want to hear.
Greg, anything?
No, no.
Good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And you're going to stay around for the public portion, if you would, in case we get some questions from the public. That'd be great. Thank you. Wherever you like. You took your seats, but if you back there. You know what? Why don't you stay here? Yeah. In fact, maybe we can move you to the side a little bit. Okay. departments. Our administrators at a manager's retreat in Baltimore this week. How about anything from our CFO?
I actually do have something which is more tax related, but just to put everyone on notice. The homestead rebate credits, this year they were split into 2 installments. So the adjusted bill for the 4th quarter with that installment will be going out within the next week or so. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Thank you, Jeanette. Michael, anything for us?
No updates tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Fran, anything on engineering?
Mayor, we submitted our written outline of all the work in progress. Nothing specific to report other than to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Anything from the committee? Greg?
A couple updates. The first 2 special law enforcement officers, the Class 3s, have started working in the Holmdel schools. There are several more Class 3s that are in various stages of the application process and be going online very soon. Again, for those who are not familiar, the Class 3 officer program was created by the state legislation, is open to all or any New Jersey retired police officers. Anybody interested in one of these positions can contact police department, and specifically Lieutenant Pickett at the main number will stop by the office right outside the door from here. With the start of the school year, the police department traffic safety unit works closely with the school transportation department to resolve any issues with school buses. Any issues with school buses can be reported to the school, the busing and transportation department, or to the traffic safety unit, the main number for town hall, extension 1732, to get documented and get resolved. It's also a program open to any of the residents, those interested in volunteering or being interested in being trained as a volunteer advocate for a domestic violence response team. They're also encouraged to call Lieutenant Pickett. Lieutenant Pickett seems to be the default guy for every program we have in town. So we're going to just call Lieutenant Pickett. There's no experience necessary. It's a 40-hour training course. It's free, and the next program will begin in 2 weeks. Police department is working with an organization called Hazlet Hope, an addiction recovery program which provides services to those in need at no charge. Anyone can use these services and can contact the police department at any time regarding additional information regarding Project Home Addiction Program. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you, Greg. Eric?
I just want to congratulate and thank the police force for the job they did on Saturday. We had an intriguing event on Route 34 with the Coptic Church, the Pope from Egypt visiting. A lot of activity, a lot of action, and I thought the police force was excellent. They did a wonderful job, so thank you to the chief and all the entire force.
Dr. Pascucci?
Fire study's still in progress. Hopefully we'll have a preliminary next month, and in December, the final report. And what I would recommend, and I think the mayor and committee will go along, is when we get the final report, that'll be a giant public meeting, so we can present it, and you guys can give all your input. But preliminary is coming within 4 weeks, and in December, we should have a completed report, and then we're gonna move forward, whatever direction we choose, to improve our fire protection. Thank you.
Michael?
Thank you, Mayor. Currently, the Rutgers Water Resources Program, they're deploying rain gauges and flow meters in the area of the Waxhaw Creek watershed. There's not enough data to share with the public at this time, but the team needs to collect enough data in the field so they can calibrate with the model in order to get proper results. Also, just to add to Greg's report, right now as we speak, we have 30 high school kids at our first aid building entering the 49th Explorer year. So far, I just want to, it's very cool that 10 of them so far have put in the 200 hours it takes to complete their EMT certification. And the Explorer program with the First Aid Squad doesn't cost the squad or the town anything. They're self-funded, and they have their fundraiser. It's the Rigger Treat, October 28th at Crawford's Corner Road. Sunday. It's the Sunday before Halloween. That's it.
Thank you. So I have 2 things. First, Harvest Fest is coming October 6th, 1 week from Saturday. And this year, Holmdel residents will be allowed to park for free if they pick up a parking pass at Recreation in advance of October 6th. So we will be alerting the public to that, but you're the first to know, if you haven't heard already. But you will need a parking pass in advance, and that'll save you the car parking fee. Second of all, this Phillips Park improvement plan is a concept plan. I'm releasing it to the public tonight and asking for input from all the user groups. This is not our wish list. It's really what we've heard from the public user groups over the last several years. It's an opportunity to improve our fields and give some artificial surface when the weather's bad. But I would ask the user groups to regroup after tonight's meeting and give us some feedback on what you like about it and what you don't like about it. So with that, I will open it up for public comment. Who would like to speak? Leah?
Sorry.
Whoops.
That's right.
Leah Shave, 11 Ladwood Drive. My first question actually is just to Mayor Kely. Are you going to participate in any town hall type meetings or debates with any candidates prior to the election?
I haven't decided that yet.
When will you decide and how will you let the public know?
I will let you know at the next meeting. How's that?
On October 9th?
Yes.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. I don't want to use all my time to get the answers, so if I can just ask them, I can get answers afterwards. I'd like to know from Mazer how they integrated the township-wide survey into their findings and into their plannings of this. I also want to know, it took 4 years to get $500,000 earmarked for a fire truck or some type of fire spending. So how can you justify spending this when it took 4 years to get $500,000, when $500,000 doesn't even cover the cost of a new truck, and it takes about 2 years to order a new truck? A new truck is about $2 million, 1.5 or something like that. So I'd like to know how you can justify this. Affordable housing. Why doesn't the public get input into that decision-making process like they do here? We get all of these, great presentations, and the public doesn't have any kind of input into the and the affordable public housing. And I want to know why, too, we don't have it. User groups are invited to have feedback for this. How come we don't have feedback to where public housing and affordable housing is going to be? And to that matter, too, why isn't a press release done the way that it is here and the public is invited to participate? And lastly, I want to know, please, how much revenue has Bellworks generated in 2017 and 2018 for building permits and other fees that are related to the construction costs of the homes and the businesses there? Or is it in the hundreds of thousands or in the millions?
Okay, thank you. As far as the revenue for the Bellworks, we wouldn't have that information available to you, so we'll make a note of that, Jeanette.
Doesn't the building department collect that revenue though? Like if it's like permits and fees, construction costs, things like that?
We have the information, we don't have it here tonight.
Okay.
So if you let me finish. Jeanette, if you would have someone get back to Leah that information. Mike, you want to talk about the comment?
I guess the only thing to note of the COA compared to, I guess, a presentation such as this, that's obviously the subject of ongoing litigation. So if the committee is discussing that, it's been done in executive session because of the attorney-client privilege that would attach to those conversations, as the township is a party against other parties in court right now on that.
Yeah, but I'm not asking for specific information relating to it. I'm asking for the PR piece of why the public isn't invited to participate, as to why where the locations are going to be, the density, how many stories, types of units, things like that. How come we don't have public input into that?
I mean, I think there's public input here, obviously, and public comment. The problem is with a lot of things that are in litigation, you can't have a two-way conversation because the committee isn't in a position to respond because there's ongoing litigation. But I think, obviously,
but
public
prior
comment
to litigation, we've never had public plans presented that we were allowed to.
Well, affordable housing is always going to be litigation now that everything's back in court. So the township filed for a declaratory judgment, and we're basically stuck in litigation. That's the affordable housing process, the way it's currently set up under New Jersey law, based upon the Supreme Court ruling.
Jim, you want to comment on the survey work? If you took a look at the survey results.
Sure. We were asked to look at a number of sites throughout town, the swim club, F&F site, the SAT school, particularly to focus on where we could put a big multi-purpose synthetic turf field and this site. The other
But
sites-
where was that in the survey as far as on the list of, what was the most wanted by the public?
What facility?
I was on that recreation committee that did that survey, so I kind of know the answer. But I'm just curious, like, do you know where that fell on the list of priorities when the public responded to that survey townwide?
He was tasked with looking at specific.
But was he given a copy of the survey that the public?
Leah, I've never cut you off once. Please don't cut me off and tell me.
I
your
apologize.
thoughts. Thank you. He was tasked with looking at all of the recreation fields in town. And I believe you might have been here that night, so it was very specific, with the exception of Cross Farms Park, to look at what recreation improvements can be done to the fields. So I don't think it's fair to ask Mazer Consulting to look at the results of a survey that was taken last year. That's
Okay, well, my
pretty
question
straightforward.
was, if they weren't integrated, then I'll ask the committee, why weren't they integrated into this? Or why were not they furnished a copy of the survey saying this is what the township had requested, we spent $30,000+ on it, where are these results in this presentation now? And your findings going forward, of what you plan to put out?
Our task to Mazer was to look at field improvements for the youth of this town. We didn't look at the whole survey results over again. That wasn't what we decided we wanted to go forward with.
Okay.
The last question I think you had was, why are we spending money on recreation and only putting $500,000 into a fire truck? The two issues are separate issues that this committee takes very seriously, and I think Dr. Pascucci gave you an update on where we stand with the fire study. So I'm speaking for the committee, as well as myself, that we will make some enhancements, improvements, whatever you want to call them. We're going to do something for fire safety. We all recognize that. What that'll be, I can't speak to that until we see the report. The report will be made public. Thank
And
you.
it's just frustrating, my last comment, it's just frustrating being that we've been waiting for 4 years for something to be done for fire, and it's $500,000 that's been earmarked for that, and I can tell you by looking at this is going to be in the millions, and this got earmarked very quickly. Thank you.
Sir.
Problem is, it's all about you guys in Perth Amboy are doing a good job. I mean, the police department, the council members, everybody. Okay, I want to talk about the mean girls.